Sounds straight. Welcome to South End Supporters of St. Louis City SC Podcast, powered by Ready to Live Wellness. Coming at you from the Warrior Logo Wear studio. Eric Cole alongside the Monday morning center back Dave Wyckoff. And Dave, that's a wrap on the 2025 season as far as the City first team goes. It was a wet one, we'll definitely say. And I'd still say an entertaining game Saturday night as City drew RSL 2-2. But before we get into everything, how are we doing tonight?
We're good, man. We are live from the hotel room in Tulsa, the lovely Tulsa Club Curio by Hilton. So shout out to the people at Hilton, the unofficial sponsor, the unofficial on the road hotel room sponsor.
Yes.
Of the 204 Oracle. No, man, you're right. That game was anything but boring, and put a bow on a really fun. I don't think I'm out of line saying how it was a fun and an exciting last, what would you say, month this season, 6 weeks, where you got to learn a lot about some players that you might see next year, or maybe learn about some guys that you might not see. So I'm excited to get into it. It was wet. And, well, for some of us, it was more wet than others.
Yes.
I like to talk about the haves versus the have-nots. But let's hear about your game experience, because we we kept talking about how we could see you from different spots in the stadium. You were very visible standing down there in your coat. Were you able to dry out eventually? Are you dry at this point?
So, no, I don't think those Dickie pants are going to be holding water for quite a while now. Yeah, you were a little fancy boy Saturday night.
I am a fancy boy. Yes,
you got to indulge in the. Yeah, it was funny. Our buddy Jake, shout out to Jake. He messaged us pregame, and he was just kind of like, "Are you guys still planning on going to this?" And I was like, yeah, I'm thinking I've been through worse. And everything I kept looking forward to, I was, obviously checking the weather report throughout the day. And it seemed like everything was easing on the severity, I guess you could say, in that area. Like, it looked like the tornado, talk was really dying down, as well as the hail. And I just kept telling Kristen before I was leaving, I was like, man, this is already going to be a later start. I just hope the lightning holds off. And I kept, throughout the day, I would be looking kind of out our window, and I'd be like, oh man, was that the TV flashing or was that lightning? And we were unsure, because I was too lazy to go outside and kind of check, but you were hearing thunder, and I just kept thinking, as long as the lightning holds off, so we can at least start on time, because 8 o'clock, it's not like it's that much later, but I didn't know also, with it being last game of the season, what sort of festivities or anything like that would be going on. I know they try to obviously start every game on time. That's the whole purpose of that with the start time. But I was just like, who knows? And, with me working on Sundays, it's kind of like, I don't mind being out late, but it's also I don't want to, go too long. So I responded, you were like, yeah, but I can't convince my family to go. And I was like, understandable. And then you threw out, you were like, which I was about to be all for. You threw out you guys you could come join me up in the 204 under, the and I was like, you know what? That's actually not a bad idea. I was like, I feel always weird leaving my seat, especially last game of the season. But I was like, you know what? On tonight, maybe that, especially all of us there, that'd be a decent idea. And then that's when Jake hit you back before I could respond, or by the time I saw it, and was like, you can come sit with me in my seats, which are the fancy seats right behind City's bench. And you had jumped all over that. So, yeah, tell me about that whole experience, because I don't think I'll ever be over that direction or those seats. How was it? Did you let's break down everything. Was it a drink voucher, or was it free food completely? I know you do you go into that one entranceway there on the west side? How did that all go about?
Yeah. So let's start with I was seduced by privilege.
Yeah.
I was totally willing to go and just sit in 204 and just experience the the with the people, not necessarily down on the field with the people like you, but yes, privilege seduced me, and went and checked out the pitch club. So I will say that I think that and these were our buddy Jake, through his employer, who got these tickets. So shout out to him again. So whatever the value of these seats are to me, I think just it was probably worth it. Everything is complimentary. You work off a menu rather than going to each stand. So that was really nice, and the menu was I can't remember, there was all kinds of things, healthy, non-healthy, stadium, sweet, savory. The options were great. To answer your question, yeah, you go in the west side entrance, and then you go down a couple stairs, and you feel kind of really special. They just make you feel special, and doors open, the heavens part for you, and you get to go down field level, which is cool, and you end up going out the same entrance that the player, out the same tunnel that the players go out before they go on the field.
Okay, so it's that
yeah,
spot. Okay.
yeah. So yeah, very cool experience. And then those seats are also under an overhang. What should have happened, and we learned this after the fact from some people that were sitting around you, is we should have just had you walk down with us like you own the place, because there were plenty of seats, and apparently they weren't checking wristbands for everyone.
No.
So, but yeah, very cool. Would like to see what it's like when the game is a little bit more, means a little bit more. But no, experience wise, it was very cool. Those are cool seats. I feel like they're probably worth the money, as long as you're not getting gouged. But we did come find you, though. I was happy that we had the opportunity to come sit with you for the last 15 minutes there on the south end, and it kind of dried out a little bit. I mean, it wasn't really raining too hard, so we were down there for the climax of the game, it turns out, right? So that was pretty exciting.
Yeah, you decided. I'd say you were down there about 20, maybe 30 minutes. It seemed like, I think you guys were probably looking at the Doppler and realized, all right, yeah, all the worst of it's gone. Because yeah, once you came down, it pretty much dried. I don't even really know if it was even sprinkling much at that point, but yeah, I was pleasantly surprised to get a bear hug from my left and realize that you guys came to flaunt your wealth with 2 beers handed to me. So I do appreciate that, as much as that goes. But before we get into the game, what did you partake? What menu items did you partake in?
I can't remember what I had, and I ended up the diet. The diet has turned really south the last couple of weeks or so. I got to get back on track with that. I got to get back eating clean. But I forgot to mention, I forgot to mention that our buddy Jake and I threw the idea out to him that, hey, how many times are the stars going to align for the Blues to play right in line with City? And
that's right.
Suggested that we go and check out the Enterprise Center before, because the puck drop was at 6:00. So we actually did that first, and I partook in a little stadium fare there before I came to the game. So it was a little appetizer. It was really a little sports appetizer, a little hot dog bratwurst appetizer. But then Blues get a win. We left the Blues game with about 10 minutes left to go. Came down there. I think, what did I end up having? There was some really good chicken dish, so it wasn't too bad for me. But then I also, made myself some brisket nachos with the accoutrement that they had on the stadium food side. They were really good too. I did a really good job with those. But yeah, man, I think that the choice down there is really good. So, us, we're South End Slobs are advocates of local fare as often as possible. But that was a nice change up.
Yeah, I completely forgot that. Yeah, you guys hit up the Blues game for, I think you said 2 periods before you made it over to
pretty
City
much.
Park and stuff. Yeah, unfortunately, I'm right there with you as far as the diet needs to get back on the rails, because later that night, a couple days prior, we went to our local homecoming day parade, and our kids came home with about a 10-pound bag of candy, and it was just sitting on the counter when I got home, and it was just when I looked in the trash the next morning, I was just appalled at what I had, the amount I had put a dent in that said bag of candy. But yeah, I mean, it was overall a good night. You brought up something right at the beginning of the show that I do find interesting because I was literally thinking about that today. As this season comes to an end, obviously not the results we wanted, not making the play, missing out on the playoffs again, and everything like that. But I do feel like towards the end of the season, there weren't really many games that we were very much on City where it was like, man, it just looked like they gave up on the game and they just didn't have it in them. For what you're almost right on the last like 6 weeks or so, you just really felt like I don't know, proud of City. Like even
Yep.
in the losses that they had, you were like, you know what, they went out and put a good effort in. Like there wasn't any quit. They were in it till the last whistle. We saw a lot better of results there towards the end of the season. I just feel like it was, that was all we were really asking for all throughout the year. We knew we weren't talent-wise, injuries, whatever you want to chalk it up to, the reason things didn't go the way they did on the season. But one thing we couldn't handle was feeling like our team quit and just wasn't in it or just, giving up on the game. But you think about this City, let's just say 8 weeks ago, they go down 2-0 like in the way they did. They're not finding themselves digging out of that hole, but I really felt like, results aside, I think City was the better team maybe on the night. It was just a sloppy night, so you kind of chalk it up to a lot of, luck and puck bounce and all that type of stuff. And I know they had a couple goals called back. They hit the post and stuff like that. But I felt like as far as the flow of the play and where I felt, really outside of their goals, I felt like we were the more dangerous team on the night. So I think that's what also helped make it a fun affair, was just feeling like we weren't out of it. We were still playing pretty good, all things considered, but we didn't even get to the whole part. You guys weren't there, I don't think you said, for this part of it, but, and we'll touch on this a little bit more, but, right about, which I also didn't mention, we got to finally meet up with Road Dog, Matt Keller. He was there. And
Yes.
actually he bought tickets, the row in front of us, which was also super cool. But I was up at the top, on the concourse talking with him prior to kickoff. Light show kicks on, and right after they dim the lights, you start seeing this, like, which everybody I think now has the chance at least to see online, the whole video. You see it showing Berkey highlights and doing all this stuff, and your initial reaction is this his, is this the goodbye? Is this, what is this? And then the video ends, and it's, I'm not going any later St. Louis. And I tell you what, had that place not been in a torrential downpour and filled out, let's just say like mid-season form as far as the fans go, that for sure would have been the loudest pop I would have heard in that stadium by far. Because just about, the people that were there, I would say maybe half full attendance, that place erupted. And that was almost caught me off guard of like, well, what are we cheering about? Oh, and then up flashes the thing that they posted on all the socials, Berkey 2027, option for 2028. So that's, kind of, I don't know. Do you think that was the better play? Do you think they should have waited off season to kind of keep the morale going throughout the off season? Do you like that play where they do it prior to the last game? But, we'll talk about more about what we feel on the contract. But do you think that was like the good way to handle it? Or do you think they should have waited off season and kept morale high throughout the off season?
I mean, I don't think it was bad. I will say, and you and I have talked about this offline, and we may have talked about it on the show, but I get it's like this weird, like, gross feeling that part of this ownership group, front office, or whatever, feels like there's a big portion of the fan base that are just morons and that just feel like they can maybe just do things like this just to kind of patronize the casual fan that might not know anything about the game and the team other than that they like Berkey and that he's a very good keeper. Um, you know, PR wise, I get it. It's a smart move. Like, if you're going to retain like one of the originals, obviously retain one of the most talented still and one of the most popular players. Okay, I get it. It makes sense. But as we've spoken about before, I just don't know that it makes good business sense to have your keeper be one of your highest paid players, much less be a DP. And we can talk more and more about that as we go on. And if it comes out that it ends up being a contract where he's no longer a DP, where he's a TAM player or whatever. Listen, creating excitement is never a bad thing. I am sorry that I missed that part. I don't think that there is anything cooler right now in St. Louis sports in terms of pre-games than when that stadium goes full red. We've talked about it dozens of times. I am a super advocate of them using that full red when the team scores. I don't think there's any cooler way that they could celebrate a goal than to just do that sort of that red out like that. So anytime they could do pregame centered around that, and they had the I wasn't there. I did get two of those little gadgety things, the little red things with the lights. That I mean, it does suck that
you're gonna have to. It does suck that
there weren't a lot of
the way out. It fell out of my pocket.
Yeah,
as I'm out of the stadium, I was like, "You've got to be kidding me!" I lost.
Yeah, and again, the water, the rain just kind of washed away some of the coolness of what that moment could have been. So, but no, excited to have him back. He's definitely a difference maker in terms of results. He seems to make a handful of huge saves every game, whether they're in the game or not. So you can't be upset about retaining a really good piece. It's just how does he fit, and how do you create the rest of the puzzle around him? I wanted to touch. So first of all, Road Dogg, it was great to meet you. That was really cool. I'm glad that he stuck it out, even though it was super rainy like that. I hope he had a good weekend. I know he said he was staying down at that Union Station Hotel, which is a cool experience. Mm-hmm. And then I agree with you a lot. City were the better team from what the eye test, and then look at the peripheral numbers, and we're not the stat guys, right? We're especially not the XG guys, as has been discussed very deeply. But just peripheral stats, City ended up with 54% possession, 3.97 XG. These are all according to FOTMob, by the way. 28 total shots with 7 on target and 4 chances. That was more than RSL, who are a playoff team. So I agree with you, man. I thought they were the better team. I thought that, despite some early mistakes and letting their monstrous forward, who do you have a pronunciation for me on? I'm going to try it, and then you tell me how good I am. Olatunji.
I think it's slightly off, but I think you're in the ballpark.
Okay.
I think it's like Olawanji or something like that. Yeah.
Oh well, if I might be way off, but either way,
I think it's Olawanji. I think that's T doesn't.
Oh my gosh! See, well, I'm just culturally insensitive about that, apparently. So, but yeah, other than letting him get loose a couple times in the first half, I thought that they were the better team, and I thought they were actually really unlucky not to nick all 3 points at the end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, where the mistakes kind of came through to me, just from an eye test and stuff, was just maybe a little bit of miscommunication between Hebert and Fall. And you got to figure, I believe, I could be off on this, but I believe that's their first time being paired up together, especially from the start. So it just seemed like a lot of it was he went, and then, Hebert would follow, and it's like, oh, you just left the whole, like, their goals kind of came off of that. Luckily the offsides were, they held their line just enough, but it was still those aspects where it was in the middle of the park. And so I'll take that, I guess. If you're going to have those mistakes, it's because you have two, center back partners that, really haven't played together much, if at all. So there's just that lack of communication, and that's where that was, rather than we were just straight out beat. I thought the City did a really good job, like we were describing prior to the game, of not allowing Diego Luna too much space on the ball. I think they did pretty good as far as shutting him down. They even, had him sub off. Now, obviously, he had all the international duty, and they're thinking playoffs and everything like that. But I still felt like he was, subdued enough to where he wasn't an overly factor in the game. So, which also I want to go back to on his. I'm just confused. In-stadium announcements aren't great. Even trying to watch it back, there's a lot of talks, so there wasn't much I haven't really ever seen where they go to a monitor for a hand to the face. They come back and acknowledge the hand to the face, but then they still just allow a yellow card. I mean, to me, that's where it's like, wait, everything you just said that you went over to the look for happened, but it's not a red? I don't really understand. And for it to be like it wasn't a stray elbow trying to break free, or it was a turnaround hand to the face. I mean, do you have any explanation as to maybe why they stuck with the yellow on that? I mean, that could have been a real big changer as far as the game went from there on out. But, I've never seen it to where it was reviewed, they confirmed, but it's still a yellow.
Yeah, this kind of reeks of like star privilege to me, because it is a turn and it is a strike to the face. And the way that I understand VAR internationally and domestically is that VAR can only reduce violent conduct from a red to a yellow. That you cannot create a foul where there was not one called on the field unless it was violent conduct and then results in a dismissal. Maybe because it was after the play, because it wasn't in the course of play, they're allowed to do that. I don't know enough about the rule book, but like we said, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense that they went to the VAR team felt enough about it to tell the referee to go to the monitor. That means they saw something violent, and then they found out, oh wait, this is the biggest player in the game in a playoff race on decision day. Let's rethink this. That's the human conditioning being what it is. I have to feel like that went through their head. Now, if that is deemed incidental, which I don't know how you could deem that incidental, then that's one thing. But it happened again later in the game with his flailing arms, and it didn't go to a review. So it seems as though there are different rules for different players. We're not surprised by that at all. But yeah, I'll agree with you. He didn't really have a major impact in the game directly. Now he did garner a lot of attention. But especially in the second half, when Kyle Hebert decided that his defense against Oluwanji was going to go from trying to kind of give him a little bit of space, a little bit of cushion to, I'm just going to piggyback ride on him every time he gets the ball. Then yeah, I don't remember making any remarks about. There may have been one or two times where he got a look at goal and then dragged one wide, but really kind of underwhelming in his overall impact in the game. Now maybe that was something to do with the fatigue of travel and the international duty, but no, overall I thought City did a really good job on him. And you got to call him a little meatball like you wanted to. So there's always that.
I got very lucky that first corner for RSL, especially on the south end, he decided to take. And I just politely reminded him that we on the south end think he is a little meatball. And there was a lot of confusion from people around me as to why. They were like, I don't think he's Italian. I don't know what. I was like, just look at him. And he looks like a little meatball. And I don't know if he acknowledged it or heard it, but I let him know, because there was definitely another fan that was to our left that was up a little higher, that he was yelling so much, especially throughout the game, and a lot more words that were not as nice as "you little meatball." That eventually, at one point, the head of security kind of had to go over and kind of be like, I'm all for it, but let's just maybe keep it down a little bit. And the guy was like, "Oh yeah, I was kind of seeing how far I could go before somebody said something." And they were like, yeah, you crossed that line about 15 minutes ago. So I think maybe that helped in maybe Diego not noticing that. But yeah, I thought they shut him down pretty good, especially not allowing him the same sort of respect that they gave to LAFC, allowing so much space. With Oluwanji, I do have to get your opinion on this. How do you feel about other players mimicking other players' goal celebrations?
I hate it. I hate it.
I just don't think, I don't get it. I used to hate it when Garnacho did it with him, and I know he respects him, but it's like, do your own thing, man. Like that, especially something so, like, I understand a knee slide or a jumping fist bump, like that's something that's kind of universal that a lot of people do. But that C is like, that from one person, like,
yeah.
Don't Don't do that.
Yeah, I'm with you, and it is a strange scenario into where you have like two of these living legend players that are still playing,
Mm-hmm.
and Olawanji, I don't know how old he is. He may be. I mean, clearly he probably grew up watching Ronaldo play, like
Oh, I'm
we
sure.
like we did. Like he probably. Let me look how old he is real quick. So he's 26, right? So Ronaldo's what 40, 41?
Yeah, I think he just turned
and
40. Yeah.
and Ronaldo was at United when he was a teenager. So
Mm. He
there
was
you
probably
go.
at
I mean,
Madrid. Yeah, when
yeah,
he really ramped that up.
yeah. So I mean, let's maybe we pump the brakes on that one a little bit, just because, like, dude, if this is like your favorite player and you scored a goal and he's still active and you have a chance to go like semi-viral to get his attention, like, I get it. By the way, especially in that first half, I really enjoyed watching that dude play. He is an absolute monster. He
Yeah,
is.
he's a
I wanted.
physical specimen for sure.
He is, and for being so big, a gentle touch. He
Yeah,
is.
he's.
Let's see.
Mhm.
Let's see. He's 6'4",
Yeah.
um, and to be able to move like he ran. Now, not Kyle Hebert's not a what you would call a fast player, but it looked like he was playing a different game in that first half. So would love to have somebody with that type of speed as the 9 for City at some point, and that type of size combination. Although he didn't really throw his weight around as much as I would have thought. Hebert kind of manhandled him in the second half. Um,
Yeah. Both
yeah,
both Hebert and the little that we have seen with Follow Fall, I will give him that. Like, it doesn't matter what sort of, like, let's just say physical specimen that other teams run up top. Like, they never really get out muscled. Like Hebert,
yeah,
he's got some thickness to him. Like, he's a big old boy for his size, and Follow Fall is obviously not too shabby himself. Like,
yeah.
I do appreciate that with a lot of the pretty much all the center backs that we've had. Like, they don't really ever get out muscled, and that's something you
No,
cannot have as a center back. Is a center back just getting out muscled the way Holland does to some of the Premier League center backs. Like, you can't really have that. So I was glad to see that. Yeah, just I thought a good overall performance. We got to see some of the kids as well, with Joyner getting his first start. McSorley came in later and was very impactful as well. Had a few great opportunities. Like, I don't know. It's just I didn't feel as, I felt there leaving, maybe because it was also a good night. It was just, I felt leaving there like, just like that, which I've been hoping for is, yeah, it's not our year, but hey, with the right moves, everything going on, next year could be a lot more exciting. Like, it gives me hope to know, like,
yep,
hey, if we show that sort of fight, we pick up a few things here and there, offload a few things, make the right sort of moves going into next year. I'm not saying we're going to light the league afire, but I definitely can see playoff bound City if things go, the right direction. So,
yeah. It's all revisionist history, like the big like what ifs and everything. But we don't have the numbers in front of me. But you do remember a time at the beginning of the season, particularly in the Olaf era, where there were a lot of drop points from early leads,
mhm.
and you end up only 9 points behind RSL in that 9 spot. City easily dropped 9 points in that first half of the season,
Oh yeah,
especially think about on the road. Some of the games where they
yeah,
scored early on the road in the Olaf era, and then just kind of sat and tried to park the bus and
hmm
played defense for that long. I'm thinking about the LAFC game where they took the lead late and Bawanga scored in like the 93rd minute. Like, there, just that was very typical of that team early on. So, and not saying that this team should have been a playoff team. Like, they would have gotten absolutely well. And you never know, because once you get in a 1 game playoff, you don't, it can go either way. But I don't feel like the team deserved to be in the playoffs. That being
yeah,
said, they almost knocked RSL out late on.
yeah.
There were several chances. There were posts that were hit. There, McSorley just missed on the far side once.
Mm.
RSL. I was surprised they did not. There wasn't a lot of desperation there to try to
Yeah.
secure three. They tie it up at 88, and RSL was kind of hanging on by their fingernails, and they end up edging out San Jose and Colorado on goal differential. Now, fairly well, no, and it wasn't fairly easily, but yeah, it's tough to have a good end of the season run like that and then just not be able to have some postseason football.
Yeah, I think you could tell if you watch the highlights or even the telecast broadcast when the full whistle blows and they cut to the coaches. RSL's coach looks so relieved. Like he was just happy that they got out of there with what they did. And I'm sure they were obviously keeping track of where they were at and they realized they were in the playoffs. But he had this look of like, yeah, we got almost a little lucky in that. And, I thought it was good seeing City show that fight. They had no reason or anything really to play for other than pride, themselves, their contracts, the fans. And they went out there and did that. And so on a crazy wet night as well, I was happy to see that. It's, we always don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but it just showed at least a little promise going into the year rather than being a team that, we could have been wooden spoon. That was real discussion there for a while. And so we avoided that, which I'm very happy for because, you just
avoided it fairly easily in the long run too, clear of the wooden spoon by plenty. Who ended up with it? It was DC. Yeah,
so
ended up 6 points clear fairly easily. So
I want all those people to look at DC, and all those people are like, I can't believe we got rid of Stroud. We should have never got rid of Kojima. Oh, Bartlett, that was our guy. Like, I can't believe we sold them all to DC. Let's pump it a little bit now.
Now do the people that complained about firing Carnell. No, I don't want to go. I'm playing devil's advocate there. I'm with you. The revisionist history on Jared Stroud is just absolutely ridiculous, as if this dude was some sort of world-beating player. It's like, no, he was a pain in the ass who was a loose cannon. That was a double yellow. That was the double yellow waiting to happen. You miss players, but there was a reason that he had to go.
Yes, and I'm that way. Look, I'm very happy that Carnell has found, same with Indy, that they have found places that suits them.
Yeah.
I don't think I'll ever root for them, I will say. Like, I'll be happy for them, but I'll never, cheer. Like, I'm not going to go cheer Philly on the rest of the way because we have history with Carnell.
No.
And I'm also not going to look at it as we should have never let Carnell go because of this is where I think Carnell found where he belongs. And I think that's why he's so successful. I don't think you can't ever look at players and just think, you look at now, this is a wild example. Look at the amount of players that, it came out with you guys used to have for Chelsea that went on to have different sort of careers, whether it was Salah, Kevin De Bruyne, those types of players. But at the same time, who's to say if they would have stayed?
Keep going. There are a lot more. Keep going.
I know there are a lot more. Juan Mata, thank you for that one, sending our way. But who's to say, though, that in that team they would have found that form and continued on their way, and there's always this what if, or who's to say? I think De Bruyne happened to find the system that just suited him perfectly at City. Same with different players. I just think sometimes it just isn't your guy, and it doesn't mean you made a mistake because it could have stayed there and it just never could have worked out as far as that goes. But yeah, as far as what we think City should do here from there and all that, we'll try and get into that as the off season goes about, but we kind of just want to stay focused on that night and what to look forward to coming up this next season.
And we'll welcome Ange Postecoglou as the new manager of STL City SC for the 2026 season.
Here's the only reason I would want him is just because I think his press conferences are always super entertaining. Like, he just doesn't care what he just he's like, well, what do you want me to do about it? Like, he will tell the reporter straight to his face.
I love it.
He's just dead set on his way.
Poor Matt Baker, when poor Jay Clem asking Postecoglou questions about why did you do this, or what do you think about this guy's performance? Let's be clear about it. I'm totally kidding about that. There's no way this dude's coming to St. Louis or the MLS. No. But it would be hilarious.
Yes, it would be. I would almost want him. Which, speaking of which, from all rumors reported, we'll just go ahead and kind of get into a little bit of City news, our Elite News and Notes. And again, that's brought to you by Elite FT. Make sure you check them out at Elite FT and all their socials. But a couple rumors that are kind of going around. It does seem like Critch is going to be expected to remain on the first team, but not as the head coach role. It seems like those are a couple rumors that I'm seeing going around where it seems like they want to keep him on, but they're really still exploring, the first team roles and all that type of stuff. And so that also leaves up, what does Hack do as far as the City 2, because, Critch was City 2's coach. So it doesn't seem like there's any, leaning towards right now anyway that Critch is going to get the job. Another rumor going around is apparently City has requested permission to talk with LA Galaxy's sporting director. So there's a lot of things that are, still need to be, sorted out before kind of any sort of else, roster positions and everything like that kind of go forward. But one roster position that is confirmed, as we've discussed a little bit earlier into the show, and we'll kind of get into it now, Roman Berkey has re-signed with St. Louis City for 2027 with a club option for 2028. Again, I'm not sure on the full details of the contract. I would assume he's not taking a pay cut. He probably is going to be another DP signing. If he did figure out a way to, negotiate the contract to where maybe he can make some changes on it, that would be ideal situation. So I'm going to get into this, or my opinion on it, but I want to preface this by first saying I love Roman Berkey. I think he is the best, or one of the best, if not the best keeper in the league by far. I think he's such a great captain as far as showing experience. I think we've saw a lot more this year of how he can be great with how he manages certain players as compared to others, where it's not just full yelling and getting on certain people. He knows how to have different touches with different players. And then I think the skill speaks for itself. I think he's an unbelievable keeper. I don't know if in this league, so I want to say all that because as you said it perfectly, I'm not mad at it. I'm just concerned with the way this league is set up and the way contracts and everything are set up. I don't think you can really at least win the league. You may be competitive. I don't know if you can win the league with one of your DP spots spent on a goalkeeper. And I think a lot of the teams that you see very successful, while they have great goalkeepers, you got your Patrick Schultes and all those great keepers in the league that are successful with their teams, I don't think that's the driving force that creates the team that is going to be successful. I think you're heavily relied on your DPs as far as the on-field play. Now, saying that, Roman Berkey has kept us in countless games. He's also the reason we've won a lot of games and we've gotten points out of a lot of games. So he does have a huge impact on this team. My concern is like you typically see your DPs being obviously a striker, a goal scorer, a play set up, or maybe just an outstandish defenseman, like center back that is just a proven veteran that
like your captain.
Your captain.
Yeah.
In all the previews that we've done this year, STL Kalachi previews, shout out STL Kalachi. Make sure you check them out at 1530 South Kirkwood Road in Sunset Hills. But how many times have we really previewed a goalkeeper outside of saying it's going to take a lot to beat this goalkeeper? We highlight their big stars that are going to be their game changers. And we've said that a lot throughout this year. We felt like one thing City was really missing was that player who could just take over a game, make it theirs. As long as he's on the field, we always have that chance to win. I don't know if you have that when it comes to a goalkeeper. It may be somebody who keeps you in those games and is the reason you get out of there with points or that type of stuff. So if he did, renegotiate this contract to where it is, opened up a DP spot, whatever ways they can work all those type of statistics and stuff, 100% this was a no-brainer. The only thing that makes me feel a little bit more encouraging on this was I saw a quote, and paraphrasing it, basically he was saying, and I almost relate this to like when Rooney went to Manchester United and asked to leave because he felt like they weren't, doing the things that he needed to continue to be successful after coming off a championship year. I'm assuming that they went there and they kind of laid out some plans that they maybe have that haven't been, that convinced him that, if I do stay, we really can be a successful team. And if I'm in it, I think they must have told him some plans, and he kind of alluded to that they sold him on what they plan to do, how they plan to do bring this stuff in, whatever it may be, whether it's a coach Berkey liked, whether it's a player that they're talking to, or maybe if it started negotiations with. That is my hope, that the reason that he did recommit, because it was kind of up in the air on whether or not he would, that they showed him something that was like, you know what, you got me in goal, and you add this to it. From the way we finished this year, I think we could do something. So that's my hope anyway, as far as this goes. But if it is that he's taking up another DP spot, I'm just saying with this league and the way it's set up, I think that's very tough to have one of those spots on a goalkeeper.
Yeah, I like your line of thinking about how, and you see this sometimes in other sports with older superstars that might be at the end of their prime and might want to go chase a title somewhere, to where the front office lays out the plan for them. So I think that would make sense. Now, obviously, we don't know if that's what happened. The proof will be in the pudding, as they say. But I also really like your point about how even teams with star goaltenders, they don't necessarily mean that that is the player that impacts the game the most. And I'm thinking about who I think is another one of the best keepers in the MLS, Dane St. Clair in Minnesota. He is a game changer. He absolutely is, especially from the PK spot. Like, notoriously good at saving PKs because of his size and his anticipation. As good as he is, Dane St. Clair does not make that team as good as they are, as much as Yeboah does, as much as Oluwaseyi does. He's a big part of it, but you would never say that he's the one that is winning them games, or he's the main reason that they took that fourth place spot. Very impactful player, but more of a support role, even as good as he is. In my opinion.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
we'll see what they do around him, and a lot of these pieces will start to fall in place. At least the plan will start to take shape once they name a sporting director. I'm not
Yes.
super enthusiastic about going and taking another sporting director or general manager from the Galaxy. I don't care about repurposed MLS. I want somebody from the outside with new ideas in a bigger league. I thought that Lee Dykes connection, although it was just a rumor, would have been something that really would have galvanized me personally, and would it have galvanized the average fan? No, but neither is somebody from the Galaxy. So it's just a waiting game at this point, and no matter who it is, it's going to take a period of adjustment, and then you hire a coach. And I will also say, I don't know if I'm Critch that I stick around and not be the guy. I've kind of proven that I have the chops to be the guy at a certain level with a less than average MLS team at this point. So why would I take a supporting role on that same team? That's me. And maybe I think different than him. Maybe that's not part of his aspiration, kind of like Hack. But I think when you kind of prove that you have some coaching chops, and you can maybe get a team into the playoffs that has a decent roster, I don't think you should have to take a step backwards.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think that's going to be, as far as, I think it goes sporting director, coach, and then you hopefully in that process have some ideas, you have things working, you have things going. I'm really curious to know if they're, almost looking at Berkey as like what was it, Mbappe or even Messi sort of deal, where they get his opinion on a lot of these players that, maybe they want to start bringing in and that type of stuff. I'm kind of with you on the LA Galaxy rumor as far as the sporting director. And here's a couple reasons. LA Galaxy, I know they just, a couple years ago won the league, but I don't want somebody within the league from the LAs or the New Yorks, because that can't be overly tough sell. I want somebody who's like over in England that, needs to bring, like you said, Brentford. That's a tough sell to bring somebody to Brentford. Like,
Yeah.
you have to show all that. Trying to convince somebody, a former, star over in Europe to come to LA, I think that's I want somebody who's going to be able to sell St. Louis. And I think that's going to be a tougher job. And,
Yeah.
LA wasn't, we finished above them this year. I know they had a lot of injuries, so I'm not using that as, saying that anything towards him. But I want somebody almost away from the league that isn't, that has those, like we said, those connections overseas and all
Yeah.
that type of stuff that can help, that type of stuff. So we'll see where it goes. It could be, like you said, or it could be a deal where we look back sometime next year and think, could you imagine, had we not re-signed Berkey, what this season really could be like? It could be one of those deals. I hope not, because I hope we, make those things in there that I'm hoping And this is, again, almost a compliment to him that we don't have to talk about Berkey too much next season. I hope
Yeah.
it's more we're talking about the positives of not, I don't want to have to keep naming titles of episodes based on Berkey because of the performance that he had standing on his head. Let's put it that way. So,
Yes.
yeah, shout out again to Berkey for re-signing with us. Let's keep the good vibes rolling, though, even though the season's over. It's not over for City 2, as Sunday night they come away with a 3-0 victory for the first playoff round. McSorley gets on the scoreboard twice, honestly, with 2 great goals, and then an own goal actually kicked it off. But, they'll be back at it again this upcoming Sunday. I believe kickoff time was around 5 on Sunday. Their opponent is still to be determined, but, maybe I'm the only one who thinks this way, and maybe it's just from years of just disappointment. I feel like when you go in as a 1 seed, the scariest round is almost that first one. Just because it's like, you know what, just get there. Like, don't let all this hype get to your head, or you let off, or whatever it may be, because you're getting a low seed. Like, go in there and put on a performance, and a 3-0 victory like that shows me that these guys they're not letting off. They're mentally right, and they're going to go in there with that said attitude. So, great for them. I mean, let's keep it rolling. Job's not done, but just for me to get that first round out of the way is a good.
Especially when you're picking your opponent, like they do in the MLS Next Pro playoffs. Like if you're picking people, you better deliver.
No, that's a great point. Yes, because we've seen that in the past where that has come back to haunt a few teams in there. So yeah, that's good. And then the last little bit of news that I have are, 8-9 Playa is going to hate this part, so you can, go ahead and tune on out. But we've got the top 5 food locations that were visited at City Park this year, and then we have the top 5 items that were purchased throughout City Park this year. So, we can get into that. So the top 5 food locations of 2025 that were visited were Steve's Hot Dogs, Beast Barbecue, Balkan Treat Box, the Bold Spoon Creamery, and then Chicken Scratch. So a lot of great options in there. And then the top 5 items that were purchased were the beef kebab from Balkan Treat Box, the beef empanada from Mayo Ketchup. We've got the Farm Truck Burger from Farm Truck. We've got the St. Louis City Dog from Steve's Hot Dogs. And then we've got pulled pork nachos from Beast Craft Barbecue.
Now these are not sanctioned by the South End Slobs, by the way. I feel like there needs to be, and we need David for this too. Although I think he hasn't been to City Park since 2023 at this point. But I feel like we need to release our own top 5 items. I don't want to put a place on blast, but I feel like you and I maybe need to release something in the upcoming weeks, because I went through these as you did, and there are some things that are notably absent here, places and food items. So while I respect that the rankings came out, I'm gonna have to do my own. We're gonna have to do our own work on this one.
I'm 100% down with that. Yeah, we got to do a top 3, top 5, whatever it may be, of items. That are South End. We're not disagreeing with the people as far as that City Park, but I know there was one particular place when that I didn't read it off. I could see that you were just like, this list is a farce, like straight from the get-go. You're like, unless I hear those double O's, you're not with it. So I think at some point we'll definitely for sure have to come up with that. But again, that was the Elite News and Notes, again, brought to you by Elite FT. We will make our way to the fun part to finish out this episode with some South End submissions, again, brought to you by Felix's Pizza Pub. Season's over, but that still is no reason not to go check them out like our buddy Road Dog Matt Keller did. He said he went there. It looked like, and this is sad that I can kind of judge this, it looked like from the picture he got the Dogtown, and then he obviously got some wings as well, so he did it right. Make sure you go do it right as well and check them out at 6401 in Clayton Avenue in Dogtown. Huge slices of pizza, but they don't lack on quality as well as award-winning wings. It's a great place to go. Check out any sporting event. I'm sure they'll still probably show some of the MLS playoffs.
Yeah.
Football kicking off. It's honestly
hockey. Hockey's
fun
starting.
time,
Yep. Yep.
and fun time for sports. Honestly, it would be a lot funner if City was involved. Right now.
Yes.
So
Agreed.
but we will kick it off with our man, Road Dog Matt Keller. He said, "Morning, y'all. It was great to meet Eric and Dave at the game. It was a pleasure, and hopefully I'll get to see you all sometime next year, though next year is going to be crazy with my new job and the World Cup going on. I got to say I'm proud of the guys battling back to get the draw. I would say this one of those draws that feel like a win. Also, knowing Berkey resigned was great to see. Hopefully we could see more locked in and picked up some missing pieces. It will be interesting to see who the new sporting director will be. So now that our season is over and playoffs are here, who do you all think is going to win it this year? I think LAFC is riding in hot and think they could pull it out this year." Yeah. As far as honestly, it's still going to be an exciting time because these playoffs are, I think, going to be exciting. I think mainly because I think from the East standpoint, it's not run by Miami this year. Miami's kind of showing their age a little bit. You know, you've got some players already announced their retirements and all that type of stuff. So I'm not really, which is good. I'm not really too feeling it with Miami going forward. I honestly think it's going to be. I know Philly is a really, really strong team coming out of the East, but God, you look at that West. Whether you look at San Diego, LAFC, Vancouver, to me, I know San Diego. Obviously they finished the top. I think they're a great team, a phenomenal team, and I think they will do well and be strong. I feel like the way it finished out the end of this year, I think as far as the West, I'm just going to pick between the West, and I think they'll go on to win it, is between LAFC and Vancouver. I think those two teams, with the additions they made of either Son or then you got Mueller for, Vancouver. Vancouver also bringing back a few pieces that they didn't have kind of throughout the year. I think those two teams in the West just look super strong, and so I'm gonna go with one of those two.
I look at which teams from both conferences have the biggest difference makers. And the ones that come to mind in particular are LAFC and Vancouver in the West, and then Cincinnati with Evander, and then obviously Miami in the East. I don't know that Philly. Philly were a great regular season team, but we saw Carnell kind of get exposed against Kansas City in that playoff run with a very good team then also, but lacking a real difference-making superstar. I don't think that's a problem for Cincinnati, particularly with a guy like Evander that can change a game. All it takes is a spot kick from 25 out, as we've seen, for him to change the game. And he really kind of took it to a new level when he got to Cincinnati this year. And then in the West, obviously you've got, Mueller and the Bryans in Vancouver. LAFC adding Heung-min Son, it's kind of unfair. It was kind of unfair to add a guy with that caliber to a team that already had that much star power and that much difference-making power. So I got to think, LAFC just looks so good, man. Like, I know we were joking about how much I fawn over them, but God, they look so good against City. So, yeah, I think the good thing about these playoffs is there isn't a favorite.
Yeah, I think got to be. And then I was just looking at the table again, and we kind of talked about them earlier on. You also got Minnesota in a 4 seed that could really, do well as well. So, I mean, that West just maybe it's just also I've been so hyper focused on the West this year that to me those you just really I'm like, God, those teams are dangerous.
The teams that we see more, yeah,
and again, I kind of Philly. I think while there's going to be a strong team and they're going to do well, I'm not sure as far as playoffs go and that type of stuff. And then, like I said, Miami's aging. Cincinnati, that's a great shout because you're right. Evander, he really turned it on this year and made them well. And then, Charlotte, they're an exciting team as well.
And don't forget about Nashville with Hani Mukhtar. It's going to come down to big players making big plays in big moments. And if you've got one of those guys on your team, if you got multiple ones on your team, you got a shot.
And first off, I want to say just how exciting that is that we can name off all these players now and just be like, yeah, this is that league. This league is different from what it used to be. Although I do want to point out that, all those players we did name weren't goalkeepers.
No, we did not name any goalkeeper. But we were talking about Minnesota. I mean, a guy like Dane St. Clair, he can come up with that big save, and not saying that he's going to win the game for you, but he can come up with that big save, and there are several like that. So
Yeah. No, I'm just having a little fun here.
Yep.
And, I always say something on the show that, it's either the Swifties or the chicken finger people or whatever it may be. I say something that the second, I say it, it's just like,
I don't think anybody's coming after you. We don't have a date. We don't have a strong Dane St. Clair fan base.
I don't think so either. Next, we'll go to our buddy Tommy Beck. He said, not a bad way to end the season, and run form to close out leaves some optimism for next season. It mirrors DH's appearance on this show, absent in the middle of the season, and finally shows up at the end. I'm debating starting a GoFundMe to get Cole off the Boost Mobile hotspot and onto a legitimate internet service. Can't wait to see the amount of food talk in the offseason. I'll start with GC food poll that may have already been answered on a past episode. Dairy Bar, Mr. Twist, or Weather Vane?
Oh, God, this is... Oh, and you're not even... Okay, and...
I've only had 2 of these, so I
can't
really fully
Oh,
participate.
man. David needs to be a part of this.
He does.
Actually, the whole God, there's a lot of people that need to be part of this. So, okay, Dairy Bar, Mr. Twist, and Weather Vane.
Yes.
God, that is like this is how like families get split up. So
I do, yeah.
a lot of these are location based too, because if you know Granite, so Dairy Bar is on. God, I'm trying to. So Dairy Bar is on. Oh my God, I can't. It's on 203, which I guess is Namioki Road, and then Mr. Twist is on Madison Avenue, and Weather Vane. There were 2 locations. The old one used to be down by the old fire station. The new one is on Pontoon Road. You guys used to live by that one, right?
Yep.
Okay.
So that was the one I frequented the most is Weather Vane.
Yes. Okay. So these are very geographic based. If you lived, I feel like if you grew up around the park, if you grew up around Wilson Park, you were probably a Mr. Twist kid. So I feel like
the only
Park.
one I haven't had.
Yeah, and Mr. Twist is solid. So that was quite the haul for a 10-year-old to go to Mr. Twist. From me, I lived on the east side of Granite. Shout out Pine Street Mafia. But David might have lived by all of these ice cream places at some point or another. I think he actually did. And so, okay, so Dairy Bar was a lot more if you lived out closer to like the mill or lived closer to, it's a little south of the high school. So if you lived on that side of town, you could have gone there. And then Weather Vane was on the east side of town by Worthen School. For me, it's Weather Vane.
Me too. Yeah. But obviously that was the one I frequented the most.
Yeah.
I think I only had Dairy Bar a handful of times.
Yeah.
But every time I did, it was like, Weather stood out.
Tommy Beck's with some solid South End submissions. Like every submission is very, very good. He of the top of the table, haven't bottled the season yet. Arsenal, first place Arsenal.
I would say the only problem I have with Tommy Beck as far as anything is just he does acknowledge his Arsenal jabs every once in a while. So I mean, and I'm sure they're only going to pick up as this offseason goes along.
You know who can't jab anybody right now? Nobody at all. That red team from Merseyside. They got nothing. They're awful quiet right now.
Oh, I wonder why. It's maybe because are we the new champs? Is that how this works?
Yes, you're the lineal champions. Yes,
I'm gonna ride that for this week, and I'm sure.
I sent Sparkles a screenshot of the last 4 losses on FOTMob, and he messaged back that he's gonna have to bust out his Newcastle flag. So there's that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's just a sad sight to picture is him going out to the flagpole and lowering it.
Lowering the Liverpool flag and raising the Newcastle one.
Raise the Newcastle flag up, yeah.
Hey, they lost this weekend too, so I don't know. I don't know whose flag he's going to run up there. Maybe he runs up the Brentford flag. Brentford pulled out a big win today against lowly West Ham.
He is known for finding some sort of excitement in the team and just committing to them, and then he justifies it with, I still have a flag for those other teams. I support them. So
bless his heart.
Yeah, actually, you reminded me, and I'll make sure and do this to message him because the only time he used to pop up every once in a while was when Liverpool would be Man U, and that's when I'd hear from him twice a year. So it's nice to now be on the other end of it, and
Not
make
this
sure
week.
I'll make sure and send him a little message, which we will also be talking about at some point this week. But as we're going, we'll move on to my better half, Kristen. Back-to-back weeks with submissions. She said, first of all, yay, Berkey. Secondly, it finally feels like fall outside. What's your favorite fall treat? Like caramel apple, pumpkin bread, pumpkin spice lattes, etc. So I want to know, when it comes to fall, do you get more excited about the savory sort of treats, like, your chilies or like those, warm comfort foods, or are you more like on the sweet side, the pumpkin breads, the caramel apples, or what's your direction you like when it comes to fall cuisine?
I get excited about all of it. Is that not an acceptable answer? No, I think the hearty meals, the crock pot meals and things like that are probably what I get most excited about. But like I said, the diet is in the toilet right now. It's real. I'm really kind of upset with myself, but we have to get it. We have to get things back on track here. Got to get the crock pot going. Got to do some clean eating, some clean living.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me, I've said it before, any sort of caramel apple combination. What I haven't had in a while, and I'm really like jonesing for, since she said it, was like a caramel apple crumble. Like,
Oh yeah.
just nice, warm. Even, man, if you're feeling it, just throw it over a little vanilla ice cream as well. Like, yeah, that almost warm cold combination is just
Oh
as good
yeah.
sometimes as a salty sweet combination. Like, you gotta get in there a little bit. But yeah, I've said it before. I'm not a pumpkin spice latte guy, or I
Yeah.
don't really care for pumpkin spice. Although I do like pumpkin, which is a weird, like it's the spice part that just throws me off.
Yeah.
Like if it's
Yeah.
pumpkin spice something, I'm not into it. But if it's just like a pumpkin pie flavor, I'm all right with it. So
Yep.
weird on that one. Next, we'll go to Zach Gorski. And he said, if you guys are looking for a little light ribbing, I'll give it a go. As you may have forgot, we prompted before, at the end of our last episode, that we thought it was funny because we read some Apple reviews that, definitely weren't too fond of certain parts of the show. But we said we related it almost to like the celebrities mean tweets type of stuff, where we can kind of find it funny, laughing at yourself. And Zach Gorski was happy to oblige. He said, first DH, or should I say part-timer, had to have missed at least half the pods this season. You were missed by some, I'm sure. For the rest of us, we appreciate that busy softball schedule. Next up is Swole Cole. So swole, his muscles are interrupting his internet feed more often than DH shows up for a show. I don't even have to bring up your lack of culinary education. It may not be your fault that you're untaught in language of flavor, but I will. I've said it many times before, and I'll say it again. Drummies are for dummies. And then he finishes out with, finally, oh, God. Finally,
Say it.
Finally, DW, our beloved, the voice of the city voiceless, the roller girl god. He's slimming and trimming and slinging insurance to protect us all. I thought all week of trying to figure out one thing to rip him on. After a lot of thought on this, there's nothing. He's perfect, and we are lucky to be graced by his presence. Dude,
Oh
no
my
way.
God. That's so
No
good.
way Gorski isn't you. There's no way.
Listen.
I will not.
I wish that I could be. I wish I could take credit for being such a wordsmith, but oh
He is good
man,
with words. But that was just
that just brought a tear to my eye. My own mother doesn't even love me that much. She's sick of how much Gorski loves me.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody loves you this much, but he finished out with the season was a slog, but at least we have the upcoming Slob Fest to look forward to, where, man, Gorski, that was...
I appreciate so much the commitment to the bit. Like that's what I love. Like please, like not just because it's me, because listen, nobody loves me more than me, but please continue to run it into the ground until everyone except Gorski and myself are sick of it, because that's how much enjoyment I get out of that.
Oh, man.
And as much as you dislike it, as much as you dislike it, Hecht hates it even more, and that makes it all the much more better.
Well, if he does listen to this episode, he's not listening to that part.
He won't.
Shut it off. And
I'll send him a clip. We'll clip it off and send it to him.
I'm sure he'll appreciate it.
Yes.
Just as much as Sparkles will when I text him this week.
Yes.
Then we'll finish out on Discord this week. KVK from No Goal Patrol, as always, comes in with a solid one. This one might take me a little bit of thinking on. He said, buy, rent, sell, handshakes, fist bumps, and high fives.
Yep. I've already interacted on this one. So you feel free to go ahead. Yeah.
Oh,
but
man, this is...
Yeah. It to me it's not hard. You buy a high five, you rent a fist bump, and you sell a handshake. As much as I love a good firm handshake, particularly in a business scenario, the high five is the ultimate expression of male camaraderie and sports celebration. It's universal. Like any person on the planet, if you put your hand up to high five them, regardless of where they come from, they're going to slap your hand. You throw a fist out, that might be violent in some places, in some cultures, right? And like the handshake, some countries don't shake with the same hand. High five is universal. High five is eternal.
So I understand your thinking here. I will go with you buy a high five. And to your point, I think that's pretty much, universally out there is you throw that hand up, somebody's going to know, what's coming with it. My preference, and me and my daughter do this, and it's kind of more common, I guess you would say, more in like the skate culture and stuff like that, is post high five, you hit a fist bump after that.
I love it.
That. So like me and her will do that, fist bump, and then we'll shaka. Fist bumping on its own, you just run that risk of the hands coming out, and it never fails. Somebody else has already thrown up a high five.
Yep.
And then you have that awkward, like, who's changing here and that type of stuff. Where I feel like a handshake, at least, you're coming out like this. There's no misinterpretation of that. And sometimes it is nice, like when you do something great outside of business, that just a firm, solid handshake, like with your butt, like it hits a little more. So I think for me, I would go high five, handshake, and then I would sell a fist bump. Just because I mess fist bumps up all the time. And then you always have that one guy who just is like, you throw a fist bump out and he puts his hand over top of yours and goes paper cover rock. And I
don't like that guy.
What do you do to that?
Yeah.
You just kind of
leave it. So I love your line of thinking. The argument that I would have for fist bump over handshake is that even in very formal business scenarios, the handshake it leaves you open to scrutiny depending on what your handshake style is, right? Like,
it's a good point.
I don't feel like high five, like the only time a high five can be scrutinized is if it's just too much. And high fives are versatile, right? Like I like how you talked about, like you can add the fist bump after the fact. You can go Top Gun. You can do the high five, kind of pull your hands together, lock it up. A lot of combos. So high five is undisputed. So there's that much. But when you go in for a handshake, it tells you a lot. It can tell you a lot about a person's personality. You have the solid, firm handshake. How many times do you shake? Do you put your left hand over the top and kind of clasp? Do you pat them on the shoulder? Was it too firm? Is it too dead? Are my hands clammy? Was it too weak? Did I not get in there deep enough? It could ruin your business relationship. Like this thing can. It's not an exaggeration to say that a bad handshake could cause a global conflict at some point.
To piggyback off that point, you don't see people practicing high fives or fist bumps for set occasions.
No.
You will see people practicing nailing that handshake. And you're right. It causes, while fist bumps it's like, I either get this or I did that.
Yeah.
You're right. Somebody could cut you off at the fingers and then you're like, oh, this is terrible.
Or try to crush your hand for absolutely no reason. Like the dudes that feel like they have to try to break your will when they meet you. It's like, stop that shit.
Yep. Or you get the guy who's just like pulling your shoulder out of the socket, where you're just like, all right,
Yeah.
I'm with you here. Like, yeah, it can make for a lot more uncomfortable situations
Yeah.
than the other two. So I'm with you on that.
And for the love of God, dry your hands off before you shake somebody's hand. Nothing worse than a clammy handshake.
Oh, always. And there's what's your I guess what's one of the worst like handshake situations you've ever had? For me, it was, I forget where I was at, but I was at a gathering with people, and somebody was like going to introduce me to somebody, and I saw them they were eating and they licked their fingers and then went like as if I didn't see that portion, and then just went in for it. Was like, oh, what are we doing? There's no way we're following that up with a handshake. It was just, I gave him like oh no, yeah, hey, how's it going? Like, do you what I mean,
Oh my God! What kind of animal? What kind of animal? What kind of goddamn Neanderthal licks their? That's like, there was a Seinfeld episode where, and I don't know if it ended up being a handshake involved in this episode too, but Jerry's in the bathroom with Poppy, and Poppy's the one making the dinner and he doesn't wash his hands, and then Jerry won't eat the food, but. I feel like I've never known somebody that didn't like wash their hands and then wanted to shake my hand. Most of the time, the awkward handshakes are like the misfires, like when I've had like my thumb grabbed like underneath. You know what I mean? That one's just no good at all. The really kind of weak like fingers only handshake, it just doesn't do it. But there's no like one in particular where I was like, man, that was a really bad handshake. Luckily, I guess.
I think for me too, it's also more where I get the more nervous as far as when it comes like coaching at the gym and stuff like that, is when it's the opposite sex. Because to your point, it's like, I don't want to crush their hand and seem like some gym douche, but then I also don't want to be like,
some gym douche.
I'm going to push you to be as strong as you can. Here's my real soft, it's just like
whether you like it or not.
You're trying to find like a knife. That's where it's like, oh man, like this. Just so it seems like from the most part we're off on that. It looks like a lot of people are big on fist bumps as far as in the No Goal Patrol Discord. It seemed like that for majority of people won, and then there was a lot of back and forth. The first two, you got the soccer zombie Tom Franklin. He went handshake as his rent. So did Fet Lord Colton. They went with handshakes as their rents. Chris came in with fist bump as his rent. Like it seemed like majority of people were with you on, or with us on the high five. It was that second option that kind of
Real ones know. Real ones know it's all about it. You got to know your roots, and your roots are in the high five. As much as the fist bump has become a part of everyday life, your roots are in a high five.
Yeah. Would you add a third? I don't think there is really a third in those. I think those pretty much cover all the greetings.
No, I mean, there are always combos, but yeah, no real.
It's typically off a high five combo, right?
Yeah,
like you're typically in
now,
that
if
realm.
you're in an athletic scenario, depending on your age, there have been like new things have been added. I am always a fan, and I'm sorry that I missed it in my athletic prime, air quotes. The jumping side bump. I do like that one. I like some of these guys, the sack celebration that they do, where it's like they like go over the top and they like lock biceps. I like that one. Yeah, I like that one a lot.
Home runs are kind of that way.
Yeah, I like that. I like that one a lot. But I don't think that in an everyday scenario people are going to appreciate me doing that, especially if you go in too hard and you dislocate your shoulder and then you're just kind of hanging there like, oh, what do I do now?
Yeah. I feel like the jump, the only tough one is when you're not on the same page and one of you decides to jump or one of you decides to do a chest bump and the other one's not there and you're just flying at them like this. I think the only other one you could maybe add a little bit, and this is more dependent on sport with helmet involved, is the headbutt. Like you'll see that in football or even hockey after a goal celebration. I think we should.
You don't want to do that on the soccer field on Thursday. On Thursday when you just rip one top bins, you don't want me to headbutt you.
Honestly, Dave, if I ever made it to a professional atmosphere and I ripped one top buns, everybody better look out because I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna be so like over the top of just like I can't believe it. I can't believe that actually happened. I mean, I would almost did that to you on Thursday nights, let alone if I'm doing it in front of a crowd.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
better be with it. And then the last one here, this one's more for you because I haven't seen all of them, but Fetlord Colton jumped in and he said, "What order do you watch all the Star Wars movies in?" So I have not seen all of them, and I haven't even seen the ones that I have even seen, maybe not all the way through. That's something that I know I need to do because I know I'm gonna. But it's tough as being somebody who falls into like nerd and fantasies. Like I'm worried that if I go down that rabbit hole, it's just opening up a whole nother, like people have already known my feelings with like Lord of the Rings and that type of stuff. If I open that up too, I mean, I could just be.
Yeah.
It'd be tough. So
I think if you're gonna commit to a movie series, be it Star Wars or Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter or whatever, your ideal consumption should be chronologically in how they're set in that universe. Like Hobbit, Lord of the Rings world. If we're talking about the movies, I'm watching the Hobbit series first, and then the Lord of the Rings movies. Now, we didn't have that opportunity, obviously, when they first came out because that's not how they were released. But
right.
in the Star Wars world, if I commit to watching the entire series, which by now there are 11 live action movies, and then I think that there's some animated series. Is there an animated movie too? I'm not sure, but it's gonna go Phantom Menace, Clone Wars, Revenge of the Sith, A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, The Force Awakens. Uh, what's the eighth one before Rise of Skywalker? I can't even remember now. But that's how I'm gonna watch it. Although, and then you can also make an argument for before you go into A New Hope, going back to watch Rogue One first. I think that's a good idea. Although Rogue One is like a parallel story, it's not part of like the direct Star Wars line. And then Solo's in there too. So you know what? Consume your movie how you want a movie, basically.
Yeah. The way I would say it, I'm in agreement with you on chronological order. And the reason why I look at it as one thing that has been back and forth, and I said one day we're going to do it, is Kristen's only seen one of the Hobbit movies, and that was just because she went to the midnight showing with me. So I have to think that if I were to ask her to sit down and watch movies as somebody who would maybe have a lot of questions to ask and all that type of stuff, I think going in chronological order would just be the easiest on both of us because then they would answer a lot of questions.
Yep.
The only problem is with the Lord of the Rings anyway is there's some like references in the Hobbit movies to the trilogy. And so like, there's little jokes that it's like, oh, you'd have to see these movies coming up to get that sort of joke that they played in there, but it's not enough to where I would deter anybody from still sticking to that chronological order just to kind of deal with that. So yeah, I'm kind of with you on as far as keeping it going there. So those are this week's South End submissions. Again, brought to you by Felix's Pizza Pub. Check them out at 6401 Clayton Avenue in Dogtown for all your pizza and wings and sports needs. Just anything you could need, they are the place to check out. Dave, end of the season, anything you want to say just on this episode before we head out tonight? Again, like we said, we'll be here all throughout the off season. We'll continue on with Red versus Blue. Like we there's still plenty to come here, but just as far as what you got right now, anything to add?
No, I just want to thank the sponsors again, especially the newer ones for this season. We brought Warrior Logo Wear On and Elite FT and STL Kalachi along with Ready to Live Wellness and Felix's. I really enjoyed the interaction with the sponsors and also hearing about people experiencing their patronage of the sponsors. So please continue to do that because we're going to also. So no, it was it such a roller coaster of a season. I feel a lot more joy right now than I thought that I could at one point. Like at the end of the very pit of the Olaf era, it was really hard to see any light. But I think this last 2 months has really kind of given what kills you. It's the hope that kills you. But we'll take it. We'll take it any day. So it was fun, and like you said, now we're going to downshift into the off season nonsensory and more talk about we'll bring Jerry back around and get back into some thought exercises and just have a good time and enjoy the off season.
Yeah, that's the plan, and I hope you stick along with us throughout that season. And again, I want to echo what Dave said. We are truly appreciative of all the sponsors of this show. Like you said, it's been really we're very, very grateful for them being along with this season. But one of the coolest things, and we send it to each other all the time, anytime anybody mentions that they checked out one of those places, tagged us from one of those places or anything, we send it to each other, and the excitement gets really there because we're excited about those sponsors, and we're happy that people are just as excited on those sponsors as well. We do want to thank all of them again, starting out with Ready to Live Wellness. Check them out at 1530 South Kings Highway Boulevard or online at R2L Wellness. Also check out Warrior Logo Wear at 12 East Main Street in Mascoutah, Illinois for all that swag needs, custom needs, anything you could need as far as custom apparel. They've got you covered. We kind of briefly mentioned STL Kolache a little bit earlier in the show. Go get some kolaches at 1530 South Kirkwood Road in St. Louis. We just got done with Felix's Pizza Pub, South End Submissions. Check them out at 641 Clayton Avenue in Dogtown. And if you're looking to improve those little ones' skills, bolster their skills, just introducing them to the game, there is no better place to check out than Elite FT. Check them out at Elite FT on all their socials, eliteft.com, and as well at 101 The Game Drive in Glen Carbon, Illinois. Keep up with us. Like we said, we'll be continuing this going all throughout the off season leading into next season. And follow us on all our socials to help keep up with that. On Instagram with South End Supporters. Our Twitter and our Reddit is _SES_podcast STL. Make sure you're also following us on our Facebook and YouTube to keep up with all things South End Supporters. So for the 2025 season, for Eric Cole, myself, for the Monday Morning 7 at the back, Dave Wyckoff, and for our buddy DH who's out tonight, you've been listening to South End Supporters. And until next week, let's go City.